Okay, I believe we have officially started and people are coming in. I see attendees. Look at all you wonderful people who are here. I love it. Okay, so let me just set up my view a little bit more and then I will do a formal introduction. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for your patience while I get all set up and all that jazz. I think all of you in the attendance know me. If you don't know me yet, I'll introduce myself. I'm Stephanie Gellman. I'm the product manager of online leads with Royal LePage. Today, I'm so happy to be joined by two people from Requity. We have Requity's Chief Operating Officer, Marianne Taggio, as well as Amy Ding, Requity's founder and CEO. So, can I get everyone in attendance? Can you just say hi in the chat? Make sure that you're saying hi to panelists and attendees. And also do me a favor and let me know that you can see my screen because I think I'm sharing it, but I would love to have confirmation. Okay, I see something. It's disabled. The chat is disabled. Thank you, Jennifer. See, Jen's my buddy here. So let me just see if I can enable it. Okay. Thank you for putting that in the Q&A. I feel like I have now enabled chat. Yeah, hi, yay. Okay, super. Can you let me know if you see my screen? It says a new path to home ownership, Royal LePage, Requity Homes. We see your screen. Amazing. Thank you so much. Look at all of our lovely people saying hi. You guys are the best. Um, okay, so here we go. I'm going to pass this over to oh, well, actually, no, I'm going to continue. Sorry, I'm so excited about this. So this is such a great product that we are launching. For those of you who don't know Requity, we'll tell you a bit more about them, but I want you to know they're Canada's #1 rent to own platform. Okay. And what they do is they provide an alternative path to home ownership. Qualified clients, they choose a home. Requity purchases it, and then the clients move in as tenants and they work towards homeownership over a 2 to 3 year term. And our partnership with Requity Homes is going to providing you with fully vetted leads because they're going to be pre-screened. They will be pre-approved with a budget. All of this before routing them back to you via a dedicated smart leads platform. Okay. Now, at any point, if you folks have questions, throw them in the chat, throw them in the Q&A, and we will respond to them as quickly as possible. Over to Marianne.
Okay, well, good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're from in this beautiful country of ours. Very nice to meet you all, albeit over Zoom. I think with some, we've actually had some business within the past, and and Amy's going to come on at some point during our conversation, so we'll have her definitely do an introduction. But we're very happy here to talk to you a little bit about our program, which is #1 in Canada, and we'll share with you why. Um, but the most important thing I think for all of us is that we get to help Canadians get into home ownership. We're talking about a segment of the group that right now is being disqualified because of some tough lending criteria that's set by the regulator. And we'll get into what are the things that we can do that the traditional lenders can't, that makes it very plausible for you to actually open up your market to individuals that you're probably saying no to right now. So we start always with what's in it for you, and I leaned in on this is, but you're hopefully will be able to sell more homes because there is going to be a broader group of people that you can actually attract. And the good thing is, who you're selling to is actually on this call. It's Amy, it's our company, we buy, so it's pretty well a cash offer. We'll get into that. So you have a very, very hot lead when it comes into you, and we've pre-qualified that client for you. It will give you a competitive edge because rent to own is got either one of two things happening right now. One, bad reputation because of some players out in the market. Some of you may have had some experience with it. or secondly, just not well known. So we can debunk both and tell you why we know we're the best and how we lean in with the client in mind. Our mission is really simple. I mean, we're working with all sorts of partners, including the government. It's really easy. It was basically all around Amy's dream when she started this company, and that is to get more individuals into home ownership. And she'll share her own story of how she came around to starting this company because she herself, new to this country, had some challenges in getting a mortgage. You will be able to make your buyer's commission from this, so that is a big plus. So where individuals now can't buy, you're going to be buying obviously on our behalf. And so we are the seller and you will get your buyer's commission. And then we honestly do experience this. We know that where there's one individual that gets into home ownership that is traditionally an individual that organizations have said no to, people like them bring leads to you and referrals, and so it really starts that whole flywheel happening. So in short, there is money to be made here. So if you're just looking at it from a dollars and cents perspective, there's money to be made. But more importantly, there is a sustainable business model here that really helps Canadians get into home ownership that right now traditional lenders, ourselves, we're saying no to. So that's why you'd be interested. We just always like to lean in with the client. These are real clients. They are from right across Canada. We actually operate in 4 provinces, so there's a good representation in those four provinces of clients that are in the program. We've got a lot of really good news stories. Most of them actually do testimonials for us. That's how excited they are about it. And you can actually go to our website and see some of those testimonials. And I think at the end of this deck, we've also put a couple of those testimonials to help you really get to feel the care that they get when they're in the program. So I've talked a little bit about how we're number one. So what you should know about me is I've been over 3 decades in the financial services space, and I've worked at very senior positions in the banking space, in the C-suite. And rent to own has always come to me in one way or the other as a possibility to grow our business. And I've never seen a model that I liked up until the point where I talked to Amy. One of the things that really sets us apart that should give you a lot of confidence is that we are partnered with CMHC. And so, as most of you know, CMHC is basically a crown corporation. It is, an insurer, one of 3 that we have in Canada. And any mortgage that does not have the 20% down has to be insured by an insurer in Canada, and Canada Mortgage Homes is that insurer. So all of our documentation's been vetted by them, and they really support the program. And so that means when we're able to place them into a mortgage, it becomes very streamlined for us to do that. Right now, our proven track record, anybody that wants to get into the program and qualifies, we get them 100% mortgage ready. So we will work with them after you've sold the home to us. It's really the rental period. And during that rental period, we will coach them based on whatever the deficiency was that stood in the way of them being able to be approved for a mortgage. We will work with them on that and get them ready. Right now, we've got a really strong track record. You'll see that 20% of our homeowners right now, 1 in 4, basically are ready to buy back their home within the first 12 months. This just goes to really speak to how strong the business model is and how we really are helping people that are on the fringes of that home ownership and giving them that extra nudge that they need to get in. And we definitely have 100% client satisfaction. So you can see our Google reviews. We do a lot of post discussions with our clients. And so this is really important to us. So when we send you a lead and you work with that client, you can take 100% confidence that your client's in good hands with us. We do have strong financial banking backing. Right now, we have a fund. We have funding. If you brought us a home a day with, with a real good, solid client that fully qualifies, we can actually close on that home every day of this year without any problem. The big differentiator for us from other models, if you've ever worked with a rent to own, is that we do not work with an inventory of homes. So we do not say to a client, hey, these are the 10 homes you get to choose from. We don't go and match a client to an investor. We basically have the client go shop with you on a home that they want, right? That fits within their budget. And there are some parameters that we'll give you, which are not dissimilar to the ones that you would see from a bank, which is basically, no asbestos. We want obviously a very solid frame, good bones to the to the home. We do not do the massive fixer uppers, and so we'll get into a little bit about that. But anyhow, the big differentiator is the client goes shopping with you. They get to pick the home, and then we work with you to actually put a purchase offer together. And then the really cool thing about what we do as well is the flexibility that we offer our clients. So it is a 3-year program when they go into it, but they can actually buy back at any time. And as already mentioned, 1 in 4 are buying back within the first 12 months. So there's complete flexibility. There's no penalties in exercising their option to purchase at any time. And we're delighted to work with them at any point when they're ready. We really believe when they can qualify for a mortgage, that's what they should be doing, is they should be getting a mortgage. I don't know if there's any questions on this, but I'll keep going until, I don't know if Amy and Stephanie, you can just kind of keep me honest if any questions come up in the chat and let me know.
Yeah, I
Well,
did
there
see.
was one question, but I
Okay.
do believe it has been answered. I answered it in the
Okay.
chat, and also just your explanation of the role that the agent plays, which we'll get into a little bit more
Yeah.
detail, but how the role of the agent is to essentially help the client select a home, and the home is then purchased by Requity. It's not like you folks have a bunch of other a bunch of houses in stock, right?
No.
These are things that will be purchased. And I'm just going to take this one moment to tell people um, in the chat, if you would like everyone to see what you are typing, where it says to, click beside that and select everyone. Because by default, it seems as though everybody, you guys are all just messaging the hosts and panelists, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. But if you would like to say hi or something in the chat for everyone to see, just make sure that you select to everyone. All right, back to you, Marianne.
Okay, thank you. So, one of the things that we find helpful is to help you understand kind of who our main targets are. And this is just based on our experience and who we find we are really helping as far as our program goes. And I'll give you a fairly high level understanding of each one of these segments. And I hope that what you find here is that they resonate with clients that you're already dealing with. So one bucket, as you know, that is really challenging from a traditional financing perspective is the self-employed. What happens here is, as most know, is that self-employed don't necessarily always claim 100% of the income they make. And while that's great and advantageous from a tax perspective for them, it really works against them when it's time to actually apply for credit. And so what we will do is we actually go on a cash flow basis. So we will work with the client and we'll look at their accounts. And as long as we can verify a flow of income coming in, we're not necessarily all fussed about whether they're fully disclosing it in their financials. The other thing that we find is that the traditional lenders will always look for a historic runway in which they're expecting their clients to basically have enough experience in their new business. So any business that's less than 2 years is typically frowned upon because there is not enough historic, performance that a bank can take confidence in going forward. We don't necessarily do that. We will look at a holistic picture. Anybody that, for instance, we've had a client opened up a restaurant less than 4 months, but had every other box ticked, we will work with them. So self-employed is a big bucket. There's a lot of gray areas here, and where their banks might necessarily be really keen on helping them, we can actually get them into the plan and then work with them and get them mortgage ready. The next bucket is a big one, and it really is prominent right across the four provinces that we deal in. I'll just tell you right off the top, and we'll get into it a little bit more. But we are the communities that we serve are in Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Ontario, and I'll do a little bit more of an overview on that. But in those beautiful provinces of ours, there's a ton of newcomers that come in. And often they are required to have a permanent residency status. We will take them in advance of that. So as long as they have income, they have to be earning income here in Canada. We will take some foreign income, but they have to be obviously have a working visa and earning an income in order to qualify. But we will take them in advance of a permanent residency status. The other thing is that newcomers often do, only because of sheer not knowing, is they can get themselves into a little bit of trouble from a credit bureau perspective because they don't realize A, there is a credit bureau system, or B, how it works. And so they might have some what we call hair on their bureau, which kind of is part of the credit rebuilders section. But if we can work with individuals as low as 500 credit score. Newcomers often do get themselves into a little bit of a challenge there. Not solely newcomers, but we can help them. The other area that where newcomers really sometimes just do not have because of sheer time in the country, and that is a credit bureau in of itself. And so we will actually work with individuals that do not have any credit bureau or history and help them actually build it. One of the things that we do is we actually report the rent to Equifax, and that is a good path in helping them get themselves established in through our bureau system. I touched a little lightly on credit rebuilders. Not that we'd expect you to know, people's intimate personal finances, but that's where we work with them. And so any prompts that you hear about, hey, you know what, I might not have what the banks are looking for, if they allude to it, this is when we can definitely step in. The next category that I want to talk about very lightly is the millennials. And this is for many of us on the call, our kids that we had this kind of thought of right to a home ownership, whereas our kids, unfortunately, that is no longer the case. They often think that they're going to be renters for life, and we really want to ensure that we are helping them. One of the great things about the program is that the minimum deposit is 2%. So to participate in the program, it's 2%, a lot lower than the 5% that's required for a high ratio mortgage. And so that actually helps the millennials. A, they themselves having the savings for it, or B, getting, the bank of mom and dad to help. So this is a really kind of growing area, and we're quite excited about it. And the last area that I want to comment on is basically individuals that are crossroads. We often say life happens. And so, there isn't any really straight way in how you live this life. And, things happen throughout that maybe aren't expected, like a divorce, maybe a layoff, maybe a transfer from one province to another. Something happens, and all of a sudden you're needing to reboot your life. And sometimes that affects, whether it's a bureau, it affects your finances, whatever the case may be. We find ourselves being able to step in and help. And to give you an example, for instance, somebody that's just newly divorced doesn't have their separation agreement fully executed. As you know, institutions will not touch that. They want a sure thing. They're going to wait until it's fully battled out and there's a signed agreement. We will step in before that. And so help individuals a lot of times basically downsizing, but wanting to keep to home ownership. So those are the kind of the four key buckets. I wouldn't say they're the only ones, but these are the ones that if you're kind of attuning your ears to, hey, why can't someone, get into home ownership? You'll hear bits and pieces that allude to one of these 5 areas. I did talk a little bit about this, and I reinforce this all the time because the last thing we want to do is set people up for another no. There definitely has to be an income being made by the key individuals that are going to be living in the house. Now, one of the first things that we will say is that we do not do investment properties. These are all principal occupied. So these are individuals who truly are trying to get into home ownership. For many, it's a first-time home buyer, and often is a couple, doesn't necessarily need to be. But there needs to be at least a household income of minimum 70,000. And then just depending on where in Canada, that 70,000 can inch up. Like areas like Edmonton, it's proven that, maybe closer to 90 just because of the purchase values. And then other areas it can go slightly down. So, but a good rule of thumb is 70,000. Again, not that we'd expect you to know exactly what people are making, but know enough that they actually have to be making an income. I mentioned a little bit earlier that 2% is the minimum. It's either 2% or 5,000, whichever is the greater of the two. But 2% is a great way to get into the program. You'll see in one of the slides that I'll talk about. I mean, the higher the deposit, the easier it is for them to manage the monthly carrying cost of that home. But anyhow, what we're finding is that 2% becomes a really great gateway for them. And I talked a little bit about some of the qualifications, like we'll definitely go with no credit. We'll go as low as 500. So for any of you that are familiar with the credit system, 650 is usually the cutoff for traditional banking. And prime will go down to 500, which is significantly lower. The only thing that we will say is that we will absolutely, under no circumstances, entertain an application where there is an active bankruptcy, consumer proposal, or collection. Again, not that you would be involved in that, but we would definitely ask that during the application process.
Marianne, one question. I believe you explained about the self-employed income,
Yes.
but can you just, there was a question that was about the 70,000 minimum. Is that their claimed income on tax? Or you mentioned stuff
Yep.
about how people don't always claim, and because they asked, does the self-employed income that is not claimed count
Yeah.
towards that as well?
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I'm going to have Amy jump in right away because she's got this at the back of her hands. She's done so many.
Yeah, thanks, Maria, and thanks, Sebastian, for the question. So I would say it really depends. We have some flexibility in terms of using, I would say it's combination of either gross income or taxable income or somewhere in between, depends on the type and the nature of self-employment. Like once we understand the nature of the employment, we will have better ideas. And also we look at forward looking, right? We know self-employed, when you go to a lender, you need to have 2 years average. Unless you have 20% down payment, the lender's going to use taxable income. But long story short to it is we have flexibility. Once we know better about the client situation, we can decide which income to use. On top of that, we have made it happen where clients started a restaurant business in May 2025, and we help them get fully approved in July. So they don't even have like the full 2 year history. They literally just started, but the business was doing so well and they were able to demonstrate the income. And on top of that, they had to actually hire a lot higher deposit than the 2%, which made it very easy for us to give them approval right away.
That's great. That was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks, Sebastian, for the question. We won't get into a real depth here, but we wanted to give you enough of an understanding of what we do, just so that you understand the path the client takes. When the lead comes into us, we will actually go through. Basically, there's 10 questions that they're asked. They're very simple questions, questions that they themselves, if they're even having ever applied for a mortgage, it's a lot simpler than that application. The 10th question, just so that you know, is on their availability so that we can contact them. But the questions really evolve around three key areas. Basically, personal information, who are they, their names, where they live, right? Where do they want to, where do they want to reside? So what community are they looking at living in? We ask about their income. So are they working? Where are they working? How much are they making? And we ask about deposits, what's the deposit that you have, as well as their monthly debt obligation. And with all that information, what we do is we get on a phone with them as soon as the lead comes in. We have what's called a service level agreement, or an SLA, of basically 1 business day. We'll get on a call from our client success team. They'll call the client, go through the application. We'll pull what's called a soft credit bureau, and then from there determine, right, whether they're approved or declined. We'll go through the happy path first. If they're determined as being approved, this is just basically, this is great for you, because what happens is you get the lead, and Stephanie's going to walk you through what that process looks like. But with that lead, what comes is the most important thing is a budget. So if Sally's been, basically, her and her partner have been approved, we will give you a $400,000 budget. Let's just say that's what Sally and her partner are able to carry. We will then let you know that that's the house price range that you should be looking at. So when you start working with Sally and her partner, you know exactly the price range that you have. You have to stick within that budget. And when you find that home, again, we're going to go through the process of what it looks like, but you know that you pretty well have a cash offer, because we are the purchaser and we have the funding. The only thing that has to happen on that offer is 2 conditions. One's an appraisal, and the other is house inspection. Again, we'll get into it, but obviously the appraisal is important, so it has to come in at the value that we're buying it at. And of course, the house inspection is important because we might need to make sure that it's in the condition that is acceptable for us. So that's kind of the happy path. You'll get the lead, and you get to start shopping immediately with a client. If they're declined because of whatever reasons, again, nothing is done just over technology. We actually pick up the phone, we call the client, we have the conversation, we help them understand the reasons that's holding them back, and we basically diarize, if it is within a reasonable period, that we would contact them and continue the conversation when 1 or 2 things, whatever the gap is, has been dealt with. So that's kind of how we work on it on the decline side. But I think what we'll do is, for today, really focus on the approved side, because that's when you're going to hear from us. Any questions on this? Who pays the appraisal and the inspection? Really good question. You'll soon hear from us that we pay all the fees. All the closing cost fees are borne by us. The only one is the inspection. The reason that is because we want the client to be fully aware of the house that they're purchasing. We do have the client not only pay for the inspection, but they can pick their own appraisal, their appraiser, as long as they're registered and certified. And then we'll work with you in getting them in there. But I would say to you, that is the only fee, which means that not only are they paying a very small portion of the fees that they would typically see with a mortgage, that means that more of their savings are going towards the deposit. And again, that's another way that we differentiate. So Lee, have I answered your question? Let me know if there's a follow-up to that. Okay, thank you, Lee. All right, so I'm just going to just give you some quick math. Again, not that we'd expect you to go into any depth on this one here. Again, it's just for you to know so that you understand what the client journey is all about. So in this example, let's just say that Sally and her partner basically got approved for a $350,000 home purchase. Okay, what we do here is we give you two types of examples. One where they're doing the minimum 2%. The other is the 5%, which at least is considered a high ratio mortgage, or a candidate for a high ratio mortgage. So you'll see that the deposit makes a difference. So in one instance, at 2%, they've given us $7,000 versus 5% at $17,500. The first line that I want you to jump down to is the savings line. So that's where we start. Remember, we said we have a 3-year program. So what we know is at the end of 3 years, we need to ensure that our client has 5% down towards the buyback price of that home. And what we do is we do simple math here. So if you go where the buyback amount is, at the very bottom of the box there, where it says year 1, 2, and 3, quite candidly and in a very transparent way, this is how we make money. So basically, when that client buys back their home from us, so we bought it for them at 350. They've moved in as a renter, okay? And now we're working with them very actively to get them to actually be approved on their own. What happens is if they buy back from us at any point in year one, right? They buy back with a 5% premium on it. So they're buying back at 367.5. The next year, it's another 5%. So it bumps up to 385, 875. And the final year is 405, 169. Now, keep in mind that they can buy back at any time. So as soon as they qualify, they can trigger it. So you'll see that that impacts how much down they have to have in order to qualify. So that house at 350 now, they need to have $20,258 in order for them to qualify for a high ratio mortgage at the end of 3 years. So the simple math on the savings side is we basically take the difference between what they've put down now, what they need at the end of 3 years, and then just prorate that over 36 months. And so that's how we get the savings portion. So you'll see in the 5%, because they have 5% of the 350, they're only making the difference between 17,500 and 20,258. And that works out to $77 a month. And yeah, we will explain all of this to the client. You don't have to worry about it, but it just gives you a sense that of their monthly carrying cost, a portion of it will go to savings. And the other portion is basically known as rent. And this is a combination of three things: the mortgage that we put on the house to carry it, right, based on the deposit they've made, and insurance plus taxes. And then that becomes the carrying costs. So a combination of the rent plus the savings is what they pay to us in rent. That's pretty well a fixed cost. We've never really changed that. And then hopefully at some point in that, over that 3 year period, they trigger the option to buy. They're not obligated to buy. They have the option to buy. So I know I've ran through quite a bit here. Is there any questions on that, or is that clear enough, I would say? Okay, I don't see any questions. All right, so this is a really good question we get asked all the time. Well, what happens if my client all of a sudden decides that they don't want to buy? They want out of the program. No problem. Right in the documentation, the word there is no word of obligation. It's always an option, so they can trigger the ability to leave whenever they want. The only breakage fee there is 5% of the original purchase price. So in the example of a $350,000 home, it's a 17.5, which is 5% of that. Any savings that they've had over and above that, 100% of that goes back to the client. Now, a few things that I just want to mention on this. We always say life happens. So let's just say all of a sudden they're at the 3 year mark, and one of the individuals lost a job, and all of a sudden it needs an extension because they've lost a little bit of runway in their ability to buy back the home. We'll work with them. Let's just say they get transferred from one community to another, from one province to another. If it's in the communities that we serve, no problem, we'll transfer that over. If they're going through a divorce and one wants to keep the home and the other one doesn't, we'll work with them. I think in a nutshell, we will do everything we possibly can to keep that person or those people in the program. But at the end of the day, if they want out, and particularly a lot of times we get this question as what happens if the market takes a downturn and it just basically the value is no longer there. We will advise them that either one or two things: wait the market out, or walk away, buy something in the current market conditions, and we will, with a 5% fee, and then basically that problem becomes ours. So that's kind of the worst case scenario if an individual are wanting out of the program.
Now, Marianne, there was a question about if the buyer walks away. So I'm assuming they mean if the client decided not to purchase, would Requity then use the agent, the Royal LePage agent, to list that home for sale?
Yeah. Amy?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in. So I would say the answer is it depends. This relationship is no different. Like we have preferred partners, and we really certainly hoping it will be one of the Royal LePage agents that we're going to pick up the phone and call. That being said, I do want to just explain it because our relationship is kind of similar. Let's say you help a typical home buyer buy a home nowadays. Okay. Hopefully, the client really enjoyed working with you, like your services. You know what? When they're thinking about selling in the future, you're gonna be the first one they're gonna pick up the phone and call. But there's no guarantee that particular client will potentially call you when they need to sell the same home you help them buy. So it's the same here. That being said, we really value our partners with Royal LePage. This is not just a hey with one individual agent. Like we're really working with the corporate and dozens of offices in Canada. Eventually will be national. And I'm really hoping and we continue the relationship, and then one of the Royal LePage agents in the cities that particular home is located is going to get our phone call.
Thank you, Amy. Absolutely. That I hope oh, and look at that, we have a response. Okay, but Requity owns the home, not the buyer. Yeah, exactly. So I think what Amy is saying, maybe if I can say it in another way, is I think if you do a great job, when Requity decides to sell that home, she'll be giving you a call. That's kind of the gist of it that I understood, right? But there is no obligation, right? So, um,
I think we're very cognizant that this is, I mean, everything that we do is about relationships and trusted relationships, and we would never do anything like that would ever smear relationships. So I think the key is, as applications come in and we get to work with one another, we get to trust one another as well. And so I think that's really, really important.
Amazing. I saw, Chad, I saw that you raised your hand. I saw the little icon, but I don't know what to do with that. So, oh, okay, perfect. It was a mistake. I was going to say if you have a question, just throw it in the chat or the Q&A, but never
Okay,
mind.
thank you.
Okay, let's move
Oh,
on and talk about homes.
okay. All right. So this is kind of your area of expertise, which means that, there are obviously things that qualify and don't qualify within our program. We'll start with the fact that, as you know, we just talked about the fact that there's a 5% appreciation year over year on the original purchase price. Freehold properties all day long. We love them. We think that they hold their appreciation. Not only do they hold it, but they actually gain appreciation. So we're very, very high on freeholds. And freeholds, even with like, if they have in-law suites and they're within the purchase price of the budget of our client, we would encourage you that because that helps them. So yeah, freeholds all the time. Condos, not so much. There's two reasons on the condo side. One is that the appreciation doesn't hold as much as obviously the freeholds, and we've certainly seen that. And the second thing is that the condo comes with a maintenance fee. And oftentimes that maintenance fee is a big inhibitor in their ability, in their cash flow. So it takes too much of a chunk of their free cash load that unfortunately disqualifies them. And then under no circumstances will we ever do mobile homes. So freeholds, really interested. People often ask townhouses. Yes. We would look at townhouses. Again, maintenance fee has to be really down, like very low and very affordable. They have to be move-in ready. We don't do a lot of specs. We don't do specs. So move-in ready. We definitely want them in communities that are large enough that they are on municipal water and sewage. So municipal services that excludes a lot of the rural communities. And then you should note that our sweet spot is we go as low as 200, we go as high as 600. We've been giving you a little bit of an understanding that our sweet spot is anywhere between 3 and 350. And in a moment, you'll see just the communities that we're really bullish on. So let me just answer a couple of questions here. Lee, I haven't kept up with the question here. So basically, if we have a client that is interested in the program, we contact you to qualify them, and then when they qualify, you give us a go ahead and start that looking with the budget you prepare. We then find a home and prepare an offer. And that's where Requity is the buyer. Is that correct? Pretty well have it. We'll go into more detail for you, but it's not necessarily that you're finding the client. There might be options where you are finding the client, but there's going to be a widget on your website which people can go on, clients can go on, and if they find a home that they like, they actually can, a lead will come into us and we'll explain all of that. So even before it gets to you, the fact that you're registered in the program, you might get a lead from a client you've never even talked to. So that's the beauty of this. And the other is, as you get to work with us, then hopefully as you're talking to your own clients, you'll see opportunities there. But the main focus of this particular partnership is that you will be getting leads from us with a budget. And that's those leads basically have started on your own pages. So that's the quick answer to that. I'm a bit confused. Does Requity purchase homes to allow buyer or potential buyers to rent until they can get their 5%? Okay, yes. A lot of times if they don't have the 5% and they have anything less than that, up to two, they have to have the two, they can absolutely qualify the program. We buy it, then we help them get to the 5 and they buy it back. Okay, and then these are the communities that we're serving today. And this is not to say that they're the only communities going forward. There's not to say that they're an exhaustive list of the communities. Gives you a good sense as to where have we had some great success and where are we really, really bullish on. So we're in 4 provinces, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Ontario. You can read as quickly as I can share verbally where those locations, in each one of those locations, some key communities that we really love. The reason that this is lots of opportunity. There's great homes that hold their value and basically escalate in value. And by the way, whenever there's an appreciation in a home that a client is renting, they get the full benefit of that appreciation. Remember, ours is a fixed buyback at 5%. So if that home is appreciated at 10 and 12, depending, certainly in the past markets where that's been the case, the client is actually benefiting from being in the market as a renter with us, and going to benefit from that equity. Just a couple of words. I mean, we are not as prominent in Manitoba as we'd love to be. So anyone that's in the Winnipeg offices, we love Winnipeg. And we'd love to obviously, build that community. And in Ontario, just keep in mind that our target market is in around the 350, only goes up to 600. So that excludes communities like Toronto. So that's a snapshot of the community. If you don't see the community that you're serving, we always say, pick up the phone, ask us. We're happy to talk about it. Okay, I think Stephanie, you're going to take it from here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, point of clarification for Leah, first off, so
Yeah.
the pilot project that we're doing that you, Leah, and really everybody who's in attendance is a part of is like Marianne said, for these towns that you see on the map. So I'm sure your town is listed there. And what we're going to do starting the end of this month, January, is we will have it flagged on the Royal LePage website, royallepage.ca, rent to own call to actions, essentially. So lead capture forms. We're creating one general inquiry landing page. So people who come to our website, right now we have a section for buying and a section for selling. Under the buy section, there'll be a rent to own that explains what rent to own is, who Requity is, and folks can fill out a little form saying, I would like to rent to own in Winnipeg, as an example. Then we will also have rent to own forms on DDF listings. So these are non-Royal LePage listings that we host on our website. And essentially it'll work the same way. So, Bob the consumer is looking for a house to buy in Lethbridge. And he sees one button that says request a showing, another button that says ask for general information. At the end of this month, there'll be a third button that says Click here to learn about rent to own. Okay. And so, Leah, you can absolutely refer clients to the program if you have people that you think it would work for. But what we're going to be sending you is leads that are coming from Royal LePage. And here actually is kind of step by step how it's going to work. So, like I said, the client, he types his info on the lead capture form. Now, what's great for you guys is that Requity will be doing all of the scrubbing for you. So you don't have to worry about dealing with a Mickey Mouse or someone that's just not a real lead, because as Amy and Marianne were describing, they will be doing all the financial pre-qualifications with the lead. They'll have a few different calls, right? And essentially once that person or that household fits the requirements, then they have a special form essentially that they're using to send the pre-qualified budget approved client directly to a local Royal LePage agent. Okay. And only a handful of agents across the country have been nominated by their brokerage to be part of this program. So if you're one of the people on this call, right, just know that this is a small pilot project. Okay. We're not telling all the agents across the country about this. You have been chosen because you excel at what you do. Okay. So after you get the pre-qualified budget approved lead sent to you, what you will do, your main job is to help guide this client to find a home within the approved budget that Requity has stipulated. Then the way it works is the house, you put in an offer. Requity is going to lead all the offer purchase. They're going to handle all the legal documents, and we'll get a little bit more into detail about what that means, okay? Because they are the one who is buying the house. It's not the lead. And then lastly, most importantly, you get paid, right? So that's what's exciting, because I know a lot of agents, they will hesitate to work with a client who's a renter, right? Because your return isn't as good as with a purchaser. But even though the client is technically renting, you also have another client who's Requity who's buying. Okay, let's get into a little bit more details, okay, of what exactly this looks like. So here's an example of the button, the call to action button, right, that will be on listing. So people can click this beautiful blue button, fill out their info. Like I said before, Requity is going to be scrubbing the leads, right? So they get Bob the lead, they have their talks, they get all the financial info, and then they say, okay, this guy qualifies. Then the lead will be routed via smart leads. I feel like most of you folks are very familiar with smart leads. Okay, that's part of why you've been nominated. Now, um, this phone number and this email are really, really important. Okay, I want you to save them. Sign a special ringtone to this phone number, because this is from where you will receive your lead offers. And just like other smart leads, you need to accept it. Okay. They're not assigned to you when Requity scrubs a lead and then sends it back to us. Um, you have 5 minutes to accept it. And it's not to punish you or stress you out or anything like that. It's because we want to demonstrate very, very good customer service, and we want that client to receive a response as quickly as possible. Now, I can hear some of you guys saying, "Oh my God, but what about overnight leads?" Don't worry, because Requity, they don't work overnight. Okay, they don't work 24/7. So their business hours are Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., and then Saturday, 12 to 7. Okay, they're closed on Sundays. So what that means is that's the window in which you might receive a lead. They're not going to be sending you stuff in the middle of the night. Okay, so don't worry about missing an opportunity because you're sleeping. Okay. Okay, I see a couple questions in here. I see that Amy has answered one. Um, okay, it's a question about the contract. So you know what, Shirley, I'm just gonna not answer it right away because that's part of the slide deck. So I'm going to answer it when I get to the slide deck because I see we're getting low on time. So I'm going to plow through this. Okay. So like I said before, you want to accept your lead that you get offered as soon as possible. Now, if you miss it because you're in a meeting or something, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. It's still going to be there for you for a little bit. And you can ask for a second chance, okay? Because like I said, we're not trying to stress you out or anything like that. We just want you to understand that these are hot leads that deserve your immediate attention, okay? So that's a good thing. When you get a lead and you accept it, it's going to have their full name, their email, their phone number, the Requity approved home maximum purchase price. And if they asked about a specific property, the information about that specific property, or if they're just looking for a general area, you will be provided that in the lead payload. Okay. Now, like I said before, urgency is key, right? These are hot, ready to go leads. They're all coming with a phone number, so it is expected that you call them immediately. We want to blow them away with our amazing customer service. Now, okay, this is where Marianne can provide a bit more details about really how you will be working not only with the client, but also with Requity to find the right home.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that over. I saw some question. I think it really covers that, a lot of the process. Like you said, in the current pilot, right? The idea is really, let royallepage.ca, the website that's sitting there 24/7, let that website generate leads for every single one of you, and let Requity Homes do the hard work by qualifying those leads. And once that happens, we basically hand those leads over to you, and you started helping them find the home within the budget. And there are certain requirements, but because we only have 8 minutes, so there will be materials shared with you afterwards. So I'll just give you some high-level idea. We have certain requirements in terms of what kind of homes we can buy. Generally speaking, the things that have structural foundation issues, asbestos, we don't want to touch it. Like the homes that you do not want to live yourself, we don't want to buy it because we're going to have a tenant there. We want to be responsible for that. In terms of the process, how that works, there are a lot of questions about, hey, what if, who absolutely Requity Homes is the buyer, right? Stephanie, do you mind moving to the next slide? So here's the thing. You take the clients out home shopping and you know the budget from day one. That process is no different than you working with a regular buyer of yours on a day-to-day basis. And now that client of Requity Homes has a property in mind, you need to prepare the offer. So the differences here is when you prepare the offer, the buyer's name is going to be Requity Homes Inc. because we are the buyer. And what happens is, you know what, you just let us know. You say, hey, Amy, or someone from a Requity Homes team, be like, hey, Sally wants to buy a home 123 Main Street, put an offer. And what happens is once we get that, we will send you immediately a offering. We'll basically send you email said, hey, could you please send us the comparable, like how you usually do, provide your assistance in terms of what do you think is the right strategy here? Do we have offer review date? Is this property been listed for some time? Is there any pre-existing condition, buyer seller disclosure statement we should be aware of? If not, we're going to take all of that away and we're going to discuss with our clients. You do not need to be involved with that part. Be like, hey, this is what we think. And we're aligned with clients on, okay, what are the offers we want to put it in? And then we'll give you instruction. This is the offer price. This is the deposit. Those are the conditions. And this is the closing date. And then you draft the offer and then send it to us to sign. The only thing here is if there's a buyer representation agreement, because different provinces call the form differently, just making sure that you have to put it in the exactly property address in the buyer representation agreement, because we can only limit ourselves to that particular property, because we might be working with 10, 20 clients at the same time in any given city, and just given the nature of our business model. And the next one, if you can, Stephanie, go to the next one. So basically, once you send offer for us to sign, we sign it pretty quickly. Like unless I'm the signing officer, you can have my promise. Unless I'm sleeping, I'm going to sign the offer right away. I literally did that 11 p.m. last night, Eastern time. And in terms, once the offer is accepted, we have our very solid foundational team in place, and they will manage the entire process from that point for onwards. They basically will work with you and the clients, getting inspection done, getting appraisal ordered. If there's any, deficiency, major deficiency identified, we got to figure out a solution moving forward. And that process is very standard, like a typical home process, home purchaser. Stephanie, next one. And in terms of the conditions, right? Like Marianne mentioned, we usually have inspection or appraisal. Those are the only two things. Inspection, just making sure the clients, we're buying the right home in the right quality, and we absolutely need a home inspection done ASAP because only the inspection is complete, we're okay with it, then we can move forward. Once the inspection date is confirmed, what we do is we get appraisal aligned pretty much the next day to go in there, making sure the property is worth whatever the offer price was accepted. And once we're happy with inspection and the home appraised value, we'll basically remove the condition, and then it become a firm deal. And next slide, Stephanie.
Well, I just want to mention because there was a good question about like bidding wars and if the price ends up being over asking, and because we seem to be doing just like individual chat in the chat as opposed to everyone. I just wanted to mention Marianne's response because it's a good response that I think other people in attendance would want to hear. So in the situation where there may be a bidding war,
Mhm.
you the agent will be working with Amy and the client directly. Okay, so it's no different than other offers that you do. It needs to make sense. The appraisals have to come in and it must be within the client's budget.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, we have operated I can show some quick volume. We help 80 families in 2 years, I mean, most 18 months, let me put it that way. And in the cities we operate, we bought homes in Thunder Bay. Every single city we operate is hot. Like it's crazy. And there are times we're putting an offer, there's 20 competing offers. So I can tell you our team's very experienced when it comes to multiple offer situation. Obviously, we're very accommodating to the extent that we're still protecting our clients and ourselves, just making sure we're not overpaying. The appraisal is the key. If the appraised value came back lower, the seller has lowered the price. Otherwise, we cannot move forward.
Okay, so I think we can skip this. Guys, I'm going to send everyone a copy of this slide deck, right? So you can have a look at like homes that Requity would essentially never purchase because this is going to be key in ensuring that you show people the right homes that you essentially just don't waste time in stuff that Requity would outright say no to. So there's some qualification criteria that we're just going to jump over right now. You can have a look at later.
Yeah. And once we started together, we have very good funding, like operation team place. So don't hesitate to ask as well. And once the offer accepted, it became a firm deal. And the realtors, as the real buyer's agent, we will need your help in terms of final walkthrough. Usually a day or 2 days before the closing date, just making sure everything is the same versus when the client's last seen it. And on top of that, if there were any pre-agreed upon, repairs that seller is supposed to do, just want to make sure those are done before the sale as well. And then basically the other thing is once the deal closes, because obviously we're passing fully qualified leads to you. And what we do is we just ask for its 35% referrals or cash rebates, whatever you say, and back to us, and you'll get to keep the 70% remaining one.
Amazing. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna jump in here for a sec and I'm just gonna tell you folks about reporting, right? So within the Smart Leads platform, you may be familiar with this functionality that when you get a lead, there's actually the ability to tell us like, how's it going with it? So you will be prompted, okay, via the system. You'll receive an email that will ask you, how's it going with Bob the lead? And you will be prompted to provide updates. Have you engaged with Bob the lead? And if so, how's it going? And you have different options, right? You can talk about whether it's in progress, whether it's closed, or maybe the thing just fell right through. Um, so that's something that we will ask you guys to do and we'll prompt you. And obviously, if you have any challenges or barriers, I'm going to be here to help you. And So we're just going to jump past that. This slide is one that you can use as a reference point, right? It has different people at Requity and their departments and who you should reach out to for your various needs once we start working together. So there's one for the offer processing. There's a specific email that you will use for that. There's an operations email and then a phone number, right? So in case you want to talk to somebody quickly, you can call their line to get more details about um, anything that you have questions about. Okay, so um, we need to wrap up because I know you guys are busy. Right. And I'm also busy. We're all busy. So just so you know, the launch, okay, is scheduled for the end of this month. Okay. So what that means is by the end of this month, you will see some call to actions on royallepage.ca that there's going to be a landing page where folks can fill in their info, as well as there will be rent to own lead buttons on applicable listings. Okay. Realistically, what this means is it'll probably be February when leads start coming to agents, right? Because it takes Requity a little bit of time to pre-qualify people. And like we said before, leads will go to them first. They will pre-qualify and then send them to you folks, okay? You can email me at leadmanagement@royallepage.ca if you have any questions about this program. What I need you to do, okay, if you haven't done it lately, is make sure that your profile, your RLP network profile is up to date. Most importantly, your email and cell phone number. Okay, this is crucial because without an accurate email and cell phone number, we're not going to be able to send you leads. Okay, and then lastly, this is the phone number and the email that you will receive leads from. Okay, 647-930-5070. Save that to your cell phone, assign a fancy ringtone to it. So when one of those guys comes in, okay, you know that this is a hot lead coming to you. Now, we're happy to stick around. Like if there's some more questions, if anyone needs to run, you can go. We're done our presentation now. I'm going to send everybody a copy of this session. Okay, so you'll have a copy of the recording that you can listen to. I'm also going to send you a copy of the slides that we presented, as well as more resources, okay? Because there's more stuff that we felt was important for you, just various resources that are about Requity, about expectations, how to do the BRA, all that fun stuff that is kind of boring in a slide deck. So you're going to have that as a reference point. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, Amy and Marianne and I will stick around for another 5 minutes or so. If people have questions, right, you can throw them in the chat or throw them in the Q&A. Otherwise, I just want to thank you so much for joining us. You know, it was great to see so many people turn out today. And I really, really look forward to working with all of you.
Yeah, likewise, we're very excited about the partnership. I'm not sure if Shirley Williams raised her hand. Is that a mistake, or Shirley, you have something you want to ask?
Yeah, let's see. I see something. Oh, I just saw a comment in the Q&A that says, "This is exciting. Thank you." Yeah, you're welcome, Jennifer. I'm really glad that you're excited. And yeah, Shirley, if you have more questions, like feel free to throw them in the chat or in the Q&A. We can take it from there. Oh, the question about the walkthrough. Oh yeah, you
Okay,
there was something
yeah,
up there. So
yeah.
mandatory walkthrough. So is that
I would say it's a strongly recommended unless the client says I don't want to do it. I know it may or may not be a thing at Edmonton. I can tell you from we have done quite a few transactions at Edmonton. It's actually one of our top markets, and we have recommended all our clients do it. This has come from the past experience. I can share an example. What happened is we bought a home in Edmonton. The clients and the realtor did not do a final walkthrough on the closing date. We send the money to the seller's lawyer already. Okay, everything's done. And guess what happened? They got the key, they opened the door, it's flooded. Like
oh
I'm not
no.
talking about small water leakage, flooded. apparently the roof was leaking that nobody knew about. So this is our exactly reason why we recommend it. And I think the clients, buyers appreciate it as well. Like the Requity clients, hopefully those clients will be what we found is, those people might go into rent zone because they don't qualify for mortgage. But once they enjoy working with the realtors, what ended up happening is they started referring this realtor to their friends and families that who can get a regular mortgage even without Requity Home. And hopefully there will be, your kind of future referral sources as well.
Okay.
Roberta had a question and I wasn't clear on it. I don't know if she's still on the call.
Yeah, Roberta, if you're still there,
I
maybe you
think I
can.
may understand. Maybe I'll
Any
Roberta,
referrals
while
to
you are
use in record?
tech,
Yeah.
I see Roberta is still here while if you are actually texting. I think Roberta's question is if they, like the agents have a client, not from, our leads, they had a client and when they send you to Requity Homes for rent on what happens? Do they get a referral fee? So in those cases, we just send the clients back to you. At the end of the day, if it's your lead, you keep all the commission because we do not give you leads. And it's like no different. If you work hard, you have a lead, you make a full commission.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Amy.
you. Okay.
I think we
What?
covered the rest of them there, Steph. I was trying to keep up to
Yeah,
date there, but if there's anything, maybe just, you know what, maybe you can accumulate the questions, you can send them on over. We're happy to answer them.
absolutely. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. We're going to wrap it up. And like I said, I'm going to send you all a copy of the recording. I'll send you all a copy of the slides, and you can reach out to me if you have any questions. Okay.
Yeah. Can I make one last comment
Oh,
regarding Leah's comment about the
Yeah.
appraisal?
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think Leah's comment is appraisal from experience tend to come in less than market evaluation with bidding wars clients tend to have to pay over the asking price. So Leah, unfortunately, the appraisal is mandatory. We cannot drop it. At the end of the day, we also have a lender behind us where the appraised value has to be same, if not higher than the purchase out price. If it's not, unless the seller is willing to reduce it, we cannot move forward with it. We just, unfortunately, there's no wiggle room regarding the appraised value being low if the appraised value is lower than the offer price.
Amazing. Okay,
There was a
Shirley
question
asked,
there
yeah.
about the presentation deck. Let us know if you need assistance with that.
Well, yeah, so Shirley, the clients that you guys are going to be receiving through this program, they already know all about this. Requity is already going to have explained everything. Now, in terms of if you have a client that's not referred by Requity, but you think would be appropriate for them, yeah, we have some materials that we can give you, right, that you can use to present it to your other clients. Absolutely. That's all part of the package that we're going to give you. Oh, there you go. Look at you, Amy. I love it. She's so fast.
Yeah, and I just sent
So,
the link as well. It's a realtor link. Honestly, surely check it out. It has everything there and it's fully automated. Once you put it in your thing, everything there is customized where you put in your name, your phone number, it will be customized for you.
okay, perfect. I will make sure to put that link. I'll put that link in the follow-up resources as well, but I'm throwing it in the chat here just for everyone to see, in case people want to check it out now before I get around to doing the follow-up email after this session.
There's
Okay.
another question just with regards to a broader presentation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, we'll make ourselves available, so it's just a matter of how you coordinate internally, but we're here to help and support you.
Yeah, absolutely, Shirley. We'll work on creating we'll have a look, see at what we have right now, and if it doesn't look like something that you could incorporate into a buyer presentation, we'll do that. We'll design something that you can use because I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
And I
Okay.
think that link was in one of the resource pieces as well, Steph,
Yeah.
but it's good to reinforce it, but I'm pretty sure it's in there.
I feel like it's in our resource as
Yes,
well.
it
I
is.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, perfect.
Thank
Okay.
you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Like I said, if you have any further questions, just feel free to reach out to me. And yeah, we'll take it from there, folks. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Amy
Thank
and
you.
Marianne. It's been a great
Thank you,
session. It's a
Stephanie.
pleasure.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.
For now.